Hey everyone, how is everybody doing? How was the audio? Hi Sandy. Lincoln, can you tell me how the audio is? Michael says loud and clear. Awesome. I sound robotic. Let me try something. Hey, Wild Bill sounds okay. Hey, part-time detector. Let's see. I will go down the list and you tell me what the audio sounds like. Part-time detectors here. Michael Mullins, Lincoln Central, Oceanic Adventures, part-time detector, Wild Bill's Hobbies. Marty is nuts about digging. Hi, Marty. How is the audio coming out now? Because I made a small adjustment. Audio's good, video's good? Okay, we'll go with that. Oceanic Adventures. I hope that the audio clears up for you. It could be, I don't know, it could be your internet service or the speed. But hey, Mike, how are you? And North Jersey, hello, hello. Well, I thought I'd make a quick live stream to show you something that I received from Charlie Reiser from Reiser's Treasure Hunting Emporium. Charlie and I sometimes send ciphers to each other for fun and to keep our our brain cells working. And I sent one to Charlie recently, and he coincidentally had one for me. And he sent a really clever cipher. I think I was able to decode it. So I thought I would show you what he sent and show you how I approached it. Now, Charlie's cipher was in two parts. The first part is the image that you should see on the screen with the coins. It contains coins. He said his cipher would be coin related. And can you see the coins on the screen? Hopefully you can. And if you can, we have an image of a Washington quarter. We have a picture of a British large penny. We have a Washington presidential dollar. We have a 2015 Kennedy half dollar that appeared twice. And we have a 1913 Buffalo nickel. We have a Barber dime. And we have a coin which I identified as a Philippine peso. And the second part of Charlie's code, the Reiser code, was an alphanumerical sequence, which should be, let's see, that. In fact, let me adjust this a bit. There, so that was the second part of the code. So I'll go back to the coins. So this is what I had. I had those two pieces, and I had to figure out where to take things from here. And this is how I approached it. Solving a cipher, it can be similar to solving something like a geometry or algebra problem. So before you jump into it, you begin by establishing what you know, right? So what you have to work with. And in geometry, you know certain things. You know the formula to find the circumference of a circle or the area of a polygon. And hopefully you have some values that you know, right? So you have, the pi is equal to 3.14, or the length of a square is a certain measurement. So in this case, we could take what we know and plug it into the problem. And we don't have formulas or measurements in this case, but we're given some clues, and presumably that's what Charlie provided in the first part of the cipher, the pictures of the coins. Let's see. Hey, Rico's hunting treasure. Hello, how are you? All right, so that's what I started with. I had the coins, but they were there. And so I then said, okay, what are some of the characteristics that we know about these coins? Because if there's some sort of pattern or there's some sort of relationship or there's something that we can pull out of that picture, out of that clue, maybe it can help us with the next step in the cipher. Now, the cipher, which again was this, doesn't give us much to go on. So going back to the pictures, we had the coins. Now we don't know, or I didn't know, the dates of these coins because some of the dates would have been on the other side of the coin, like the British large penny. So I didn't think the dates had anything to do with it. Now, the coins have inscriptions on them, but I didn't think that really made sense either because there really isn't an established pattern of where you'd begin. So, the quarter, for example, would you start with the United States of America? Would you start with quarter dollar? Would you start with In God We Trust? I thought that was a possibility, so I put that aside for a moment. There are 3 different countries that the coins came from, and I thought maybe the cipher would be solved by somehow using those country names. So that was certainly a possibility. I put that aside. I also knew that each of the coins had engravers. I could determine who designed the coins. Again, that was a possibility. I didn't think that was likely, but that was a possibility. We also have portraits in all these coins, and that was originally what I went with because I thought, okay, maybe this part of the cipher, or the cipher itself, maybe that has something to do with the portraits that appear in these coins. So I thought that. But I then noticed that we have different types of coins, right? We have a quarter, we have a large penny, we have a dollar, we have the half dollar, we have a buffalo nickel, we have a barber dime, we have a Philippine peso. And I thought that was the option I'd go for after looking at the text. Because if you look at the text, all right, you notice that the text contains a specific set of letters. We have P, Q, D, Q, right? There's a certain set, a certain range of letters that you could use. And I thought that might refer to, P could be, D could be dime, Q could be quarter, right? N could be nickel, H could be half. And so I thought that idea might get some, they don't all have mint marks, and I thought that, let me go back to the coins. I thought maybe, but we wouldn't exactly know. We wouldn't know, for example, if this coin had a mint mark, or if this coin had a mint mark, or if this one did. So yeah, that was a possibility. Let's see, here we go. So yeah, getting back to this, that pattern might work. I mean, if this somehow referred to one of the coins, it would refer to the coin that began with P. Now, the tricky thing there was P, in this case, going back to here, P could stand for the penny, the British penny, or could be the peso. And right, exactly, D could be the dime, or could be the dollar. So you'd have to take that into consideration. And going back to this, you also see that each of these alphanumerical characters is followed by a number from 1 to 7, right? The lowest number was 1, I noticed, and the highest number was 7. The last thing I noticed, which ended up being a pretty good clue, was on the barber dime. If you look at it carefully, there's something written on it, and it spells out dime, D-I-M-E, and each letter is underlined. And then there's an arrow going down, and under the D, it's hard to make it out in this picture, it says D1. So using that idea of using the type of coin as the key, or a set of keys, I thought, okay, whenever I see D1 in the cipher, it could be replaced with the letter D, because the first letter in dime is D, and that would work for dollar as well, because the first letter in the word dollar is D. So coming back to here, so right, whenever I would see D1 here, I could replace it with D. So here's D1, so we could put a D there. But, right, the replacement for D2 would be a little trickier because D2 could either be the letter I, the second letter in dime, or it could stand for the letter O, the second letter in dollar. So I'd have to write both letters and try to determine which one would fit best. And using that theory, we could cipher it like this. So if we start with, well, if we do quarter, this is what I did. I'm going to put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Then we have dime. 1, 2, 3, 4. Dollar. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. See the pattern here? We had nickel. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We had penny. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We had peso. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then we had half. Now, what confused me about half was that if you look at, where's one of them? Right. There are only 4 letters in the word half, but there were characters here that had, like this one here. That says H5. Well, that wouldn't work because you have HALF. So I started to question all that. But then going back here, I noticed there were 2. At first I thought it was just, because this was emailed, I thought maybe the image appeared twice. But we have 2 halves. So the key for that, at least this is what I went with, isn't half, it's halves, which would give you 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we have the quarter, the penny, the dollar, the halves, the nickel, and the dime, and the peso. So if I was correct, those are the keys to trying to figure out what this message is. Let me look at the chat here. Virginia Buried Antiquities Recovery, hello. And Linda, hello, nice to see you. Let's see. And Joe Durbin, hello, Joe Durbin. DS or Durbinman, it could be. I didn't go with that theory, but it could be. Let's see. Amy asked, do any of these coins have 7 letters? The quarter does. And if you go with halves, it only goes up to 6. So the only type coin that has 7 letters is quarter. Okay, so what does that mean? Well, let's look at the top. So P3, we determined we have 2 possibilities for P3. So P3 could either be N or S. So we'll put S or N. All right. We don't know which one it is. So Q3 is A. There's only one type coin that has a Q, so it has to be A if this is right. Then we have D3. Okay, well, we have 2 possibilities here. We have an M or an L. Q2 has to be U. All right, do you see how I'm doing this? Q5 has to be T. D5. Well, D5 can't be anything from dime because there are only 4 letters. So D5 by default has to be A. Q5 would be T. D2, okay. Well, here we have 2 possibilities. It could be I for dime or O for, so let's put, we have D2 again, so it's either going to be I or O. N1 has to be N. And H6 gives us S. Hey, ambient girl, how are you? If you just came in, this is a cipher that Charlie Reiser sent, and I'm just kind of going over what process I went through to try to solve it. I think I got it. Well, I shouldn't say I think. I'm pretty sure I got it. Exactly. So salutation. So we can say so. There we are. Salutations. Okay. Now, let's see. This is. I don't want to stay on here too long because I know Mike M.A. Lyman is going to be going on. So hopefully you all join that. But I'll quickly go through this and I'll show you what I did. So D6. Okay, D6 can't be dime, so it has to be R. And as you're putting these letters together, your brain kind of can tell you what the letters are going to be and what the word will be based on those letters. So N2 is I. H2. Oh, I'm sorry, H4 is V. So when I saw that, anything who can guess what this word might be? So D4 can be either E or L. It's an E. I'll kind of catch up with chat a bit. Okay, so P3 could either be an N or an S. Yeah, exactly. So Rivendell. So if we go with Rivendell, does D fit for D1? Well, of course it does. P2. Well, you have either E or E, so there we go. Now you might think, well, L is going to be repeated, but those aren't repeated, but that doesn't necessarily mean it doesn't fit because N6, only one option, we have L, and D4 could be either E or the L in dollar, so Rivendell. N3, C, P4 could be either N or O. Let's go with O. D2 could be either I or O. P3 could be either N or S. P3 again could be either N or S. So, I mean, logic kind of dictates it's Rivendell, C-O-I-N-S. So Rivendell coins. H1, well, only one option, H. N5, N5 is E. All right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Q7 has to be R. P2 is either going to be an E or an E, so it's E here. So D2, we have either I or O. And P3 is either N or S. And if you have the word here, and you have in, OS, or is, or on, I'm going to guess it. I guessed it's is. Here is. Q5 is T. H1 is H. P2, well, it could be E or E. Here is the. Then we have D6. So D6 has to be dollar. So R. Oh yeah, we already put D there. This word actually, Charlie, I had a question on. Then we have H4. H1, 2, 3, 4 is V. Here is the REV. N2, I. H4 V, and Q6 has to be E. So is it, here's the revived, or is it, should it be revised? Hey, B3, how are you? Thanks for stopping by and showing some love. All right, so Rivendell coins, here's the revived. Then we have H1, has to be H. D2 could either be I or O again. P3 could be either N or S, right? Q5 has to be T. P4 could be either O or N. D6, well, D6 has to be R. And P5 has to be Y. So with all the permutations there, what do you think that word is? Revived, okay. So the chat is a little bit behind where I am, but you know, this is going to be the most logical possibility is HIST, especially knowing Charlie, is history. So here is the revived history. So H1 we know is H. Q3 is A. H6 is S. History has. Q7R. D4 can be either E or L. Now, if this is has, there's no letter that has RL, so we're going to go with E, RE. Then we have N3, C. D2 could be either I or O. And Q4 is R. D1 has to be D, right? The dollar or dime. N5 has to be E. And D1 is D. NJD. Jason would look good as Vanna White. Maybe Pat Sajak. So, history has recorded. So, Q5. T. P5 has to be Y. P1 has to be P. Q6 has to be E. Type. H2 has to be A. N1 has to be N, right? Because there's no other possibility there. D1 has to be D, either dime or dollar, D. So history has recorded type, and P5 is Y. H5 is going to be E. Q3 is A. D6, so D6 we have to go to dollar, R. And D2 could be either I or O. But we have a little apostrophe there. Now, I think that is because Charlie's going a little Irish on us, because none of these have the letter F as a possibility. So I'm going to guess that really means of. So history has recorded type and year of. Am I right with that, Charlie? That took me a little while. Because we go back to the coins, right? And Jason, you had an idea for... Oh my God, Jason! All right, if NJD is still with us. Charlie, does that mean of? Yep, okay. So, Feng, that was clever. So N3 would be C. I hope Jason didn't have a heart attack. D2 is either I or O again. N2 is I. All right, now there's no word that's going to be CII, so logic would dictate that would be O. P4 could be an O or an N. And since we have COI, I'm going to guess that's an N. And P3 could be either N or S. Well, if we have COIN, it would make sense that that is an S for coins. So type and year of coins. Q5 is T. H1 is H. D5 is A. Q5 is T. So that. So history has recorded type and year of coins that P1 has to be the letter P. N6 has to be L. Right? H2 has to be A. N3 has to be C, PLAC. Q6, E. And D1, D. Type and year of coins that placed. And we have P4, which could be in either an O or an N. H4 could be V. P2 is either E or E. And Q4 has to be R. So NVER doesn't make sense, but over. Coins that placed over. Q5, T. H1 is H. And H5 is E, placed over the. Q6 is E. Yeah, you can see that. Q6 is E. P5 has to be Y. P2 is either E or E, so E. E, Y, E. And P3, we have a choice between N or S. So it has to be either EYEN or EYES, and EYES would be the choice. Placed over the I's. D2, there we go again. So we're just going to put an O there and assume that's of. And Q3, A. Q3 is A. D4. D4 is either L or E. N2 gives us I. P4 can be either N or O. N3 can only be C. D2 is either an O or an I. N6, L. And P3 is either an N or an S. Let me erase that. So looking at these possibilities, what do you think that would be? Well, here, I'll do D2. D2 can be either I or O again. And N1 is N. D1 has to be D. D4 can be either E or L. This is really clever. H2. Here, we know that's of, right? H2 is A. Q5 is T. H1 is H. So L wouldn't make sense, so this is E. So something in death. History has recorded type and year of coins that placed over the eyes of a Lincoln in death, right? Exactly. So it's not O. So which Lincoln do I think that was? Well, I think it's fair to say it's Abe Lincoln. So almost here. So then we have N3, that's C. Q3 is A. P4 is either N or S. But would make sense that it's N, can, since it's a start of a sentence. Can. P5 is Y. D2 is either I or O. Can. You can probably figure out what Q2 is U. So can you, right? That wouldn't make sense. Can you? P4 is either N or O, right? Q3 is A. D3 is either M or L. N5 is E. There's a space there. So that word, I mean, what makes sense is, can you name, right? Can you name? Q5 is T. We know H1 has to be H. Q6 is E. Now, I guess I could just go there and find all the Q6s and plug, because there's only one possibility, but Q5 is T. Can you name the T? P5 has to be this. P1 has to be, well, P or P. And N5 is E. Can you name the type? Q3 is A. P4 is either N or O. D1 has to be D. A and D. Can you name the type and P5? I'll have to go to penny. Y. P2 is either E or E. Q3 has to be A. D6, well, we're at dollar, so that's to be R. The type and year, P3, is either S or N. Well, type and year, since they're over his eyes, there has to be more than one. Can you name the type and years? P4 is O, and I think we have the apostrophe, so we're going to call that of. N3, 1, 2, 3 is C. D2 is either I or O. D2 again is either I or O. N1 is N, and P3 is either N or S. And we can kind of see that it C-O-I-N-S makes the most sense. So can you name the type and year of coins? Question mark. All right. Q3. You're not going to be able to see quarter if I do it like that. There we go. All right. So Q3 is A. D4 is either L or E. Hey, Les, how are you? All right. P3 is either N or S. And D2 is either I or O. Oops, I'm sorry, I or O. So here, I mean, what makes sense is also, comma, Q5 is T, H1 is H, we know. P2 can be either E or E, so it's E. Also, the Q7 is R. D2 is either I or O. P4 is either N or O. Q5 is T. And D2 is either I or O, but we think that's of again. Okay. So let's see here. This one did stump me. I'm guessing it's root. Also the root of Q5. Q5 is T. H1 is H. And D4 is either E or L. Well, E makes sense. This is the. Also, the root of Q5 is E. D6, we have to go to dollars, so that's R. Oh, I'm sorry, Q5 is T. Let me erase that. Okay. H2 is A. D1 wants to be D. N2 is I. Q5 is T. N2 is I. P4 is either N or O. Oops, sorry, T, I. All right, so P4 is either N or O. Gosh, I keep wanting to go to the side. And P4 again can be either N or O with a question mark. So what I'm seeing there is TRADITION. Also the root of the tradition. All right, so that's what I ended up with. So Rivendell coins. Here is the revived. History has recorded. Type and year of coins that placed over the eyes of a Lincoln in death. Can you name the type and years of coins? Also, the root of the tradition. I knew this part. The root of the tradition was that the coins served, it's from ancient Greek mythology, the coins served as a toll payment for the ferrymen across the river Styx, so the deceased, the soul, could make it to that place. So that was the root. The tradition is Greek mythology. And it's the toll for the river Styx. Don't ask me how I remember that. But I had no idea what the coins were and what the years were. So I had to look it up. And I did look it up. And Charlie, the answer I came up with, they were... You tell me if this is right. Okay, they were two-seated Liberty $half, and the years were 1854 and 1861. And I found that online. I had to Google that one. And that was from the Asylum. It was from the, let's see. It's the ESYLUM. And it was volume 20. I wrote this down in case anybody wants to double check. Number 11. And that article was published in March of 2017. So, Charlie, what do you think? Did that... Still talking about the dolls? I won't bring the doll out again. So, that's what I have. Let me go back and check the chat. I've been ignoring the chat. I apologize. So, Sandy's here. Hello, Sandy. Good to see you again. And ice cream and ambient girl thinks ice cream and spam. That sounds great. And Jason's causing trouble, saying you need more work to do, Sandy. Lincoln's agreeing. Great. So was that it, Charlie? And Ghost Duck says doesn't listen to me when I tell him to do stuff. Oh, now we're pushing it back to Charlie. How did I remember? Oh, this? I don't know. I must have thought that sounded really kind of strange, or I must have read that somewhere and just it stuck. Linda, not Greek ancient. Well, my understanding is it is from Greek mythology. Maybe they borrowed it from ancient Egypt, but the idea was that when somebody died, their soul went to the underworld, and they had to cross the river Styx. They had to pay a toll to the ferryman, whose name I think was Chiron. And if you didn't have the toll, you couldn't pass on to the next life. Do it again. Well, Sandy, if you want to do it again, there you go. Or you can ask Charlie. I'm going to guess he has it all solved. Gear, hello, how are you? So that's what I ended up with. It was a good one. I did not realize that coins were put on Abraham Lincoln's eyes when he died. I do seem to remember that when he died, this is terrible, but somebody tried to steal his body and they wanted to ransom it. So Robert Lincoln, his son, or because he's buried in Springfield, Illinois, again, if I remember correctly, but Robert Lincoln had basically a large ditch dug, and the casket was set in cement. So he's still there, but nobody's going to be able to take his body unless they dig through the cement. Let's see. Perfect. Okay, good. All right, so now I happen to send Charlie a code, and I do believe he is he's circling around the answer, so he's going to be getting it very, very soon. He's really homing in on it. So Lincoln, you did know they put coins on the other Lincoln's eyes? So Charlie, I'm still working on Riv's cipher. I've enlarged the cipher and made copies now. Oh, you'll get it. The thing is, you're going to, once you find the key, Charlie, it's gonna, you're probably gonna be kicking yourself because it's kind of right there. But I hope I did a half decent job hiding it, so it's a challenge. But once you have the key, you'll be able to take the text that's coded and figure out what it means, what it refers to. It's a question. Let's see. Scare NGD with a doll. I'm not going to do that. I already did that once. right, there you go. Sandy's ancestors involved. I don't know. Yes, sir. I used to know the type, coin, and years. Good for you, Lincoln. I did not know they did that to Abe Lincoln, but that's what I came up with. They were seated Liberty $50, and the years were 1854 and 1861. Thank you for keeping him busy, Riv. Yes, I have some others. I have another one that's a bit more. Well, I won't say. I don't think it's difficult. It will take. There are more steps. Well, again, I won't say what it is. It'll be a surprise. I think Charlie, though, knowing what I know about Charlie, will like the next cipher. I didn't know the dates of the coins used. Yeah, I didn't either, Mike. That was really neat. All right. Well, I think I will sign off. I meant this to be a short one. I kind of rushed through it. It didn't. It took me a lot longer to get all this, obviously, than it did tonight to show it to you. But it was a really clever cipher. It was very well designed, Charlie. Hats off to you. You did a great job. And yeah, it was. It kept me on my toes. All right. Well, I think it would be curious to find out if they're still there. Yeah, that would be interesting to know. In fact, if I remember correctly, now I need to look this up. I think when whoever tried to steal Abe Lincoln's coffin and his body, his corpse, and they did so because they wanted to ransom it, and they were caught, and they were imprisoned. And I think when Robert Lincoln ordered that a deeper hole be dug and cement be put in there, and then the casket be put in the cement, set in the cement, so it's completely covered. I think before that happened, either he, Robert Lincoln, or somebody else cut a hole in the casket because you couldn't just open it up. And they wanted to make sure that Abraham Lincoln was still there, and they could tell from the hole that they cut that it was indeed Abraham Lincoln. He still had his beard. I guess there was a mole on his face that was very distinctive, and they could tell from that it was Lincoln. So, but they didn't say anything about the coins being there. I don't know. All right. Well, I'm going to sign off, everybody. Thanks for joining me. I hope you enjoyed this as much as I did. And Charlie will keep these coming. Like I said, I have another one ready for you. It's going to take me maybe another week or so to really get it fine-tuned and get everything in place so it works. And it may be one that instead of email, in fact, I won't say it may, it is one that I'm going to have to definitely mail to you because there are going to be different parts to it. So expect that in the mail in the next couple of weeks. And everybody, please remember, I don't know when he's going on. Mike usually goes on at 8, but remember that Mike Lyman, M.A. Lyman, is going to be live streaming tonight. And I know Ozzy Darren will be there, and some others, I don't recall who else. But definitely tune into that. That'll be a fun time. All right, everybody, have a great night. Thanks for joining me, and I hope to see you all soon. Take care.